welcome to the Jills of All Trades podcast. I'm Cinnamon with countrycraftswood.com.
And I'm Julianne with dirtpatchheaven.com, and that's dirtpatchheaven with one H.
Welcome to our podcast. This is going to be a podcast about homesteading, organizing, kids, God, budgeting, and everything literally underneath the sun. So we wanted to take this first episode to basically introduce ourselves, tell you about what we do. But let's start off. Julianne is a huge homesteader. She knows a ton. She has a plethora of information that deals with farming, animals, canning, all that stuff. So I'm really, really excited about this podcast because I am literally going to pick her brain about everything. So, Julianne, if you would, if there would be one thing out of all that you know through your homesteading experiences, what would you want that one thing to be that you tell other people?
Find the thing that you're passionate about, the thing that you're most concerned about, the thing that stretches your budget and makes you afraid in life, and educate yourself about it. The more you understand your situation, the more that you reach out to other people that have the same situation. A lot of the moms that think homesteading sounds important, the reason they got into it was because they had a sick child and they wanted to be able to find a way to have them have better health through nutrition. And once they educated themselves, they found that they were not powerless. And so I really think that education helps you to have greater faith and really see that you can move mountains depending on what it is that you really believe in. So that's it.
Awesome. I have my own organizing cleaning business, and I've always been, if anybody's ever seen the hit show Friends, when it was on, I'm Monica. I do wake up loving to clean. I love when I walk into a room that is purely chaotic. I know right where to start. I know where to set it up and stuff. So if I have any kind of advice to give people, I deal a lot with a lot of people who are very stressed, and they get stressed because they get overwhelmed or they see projects and they have no idea where to start. The biggest advice that I could ever give anybody with everything that you do that has to do with organizing or cleaning is to do a little bit at a time. A lot of people will look at a project, and if they can't get it all done at once, then they get very discouraged. But you really have to celebrate all the small victories, because the thing is that when you have an area that gets messed up, it gets messed up a little bit at a time. So you're not going to be able to sit down and get everything completely gone through, especially if you have kids. And the only way that is going to happen is if you have somebody who's going to take the time out and watch the kids for you. So then you are going to have that time, because a lot of people, the reason why it builds up slowly is because they say, oh, I will get to that later. I'll clean that later. I'll clean that later. But the thing is that all those things build up, and then when you look at your schedule, you really don't have a huge stretch of time where you can go ahead and start putting that stuff away. So if you see it, do it. If you see pens laying out, go around, collect them, put them where they go. So you have to have a spot for everything, which I will definitely talk about that at a different time. But yeah, to basically try and tackle everything a little bit at a time would be my advice. For those of you who have who have found us on our website, jillsofalltradespodcast.com, you've seen that we've gone ahead and linked it with a Patreon account. And so we kind of just wanted to give a little bit of background as to why we're going ahead and setting it up through Patreon. For those of you who don't know Julianne from her channel and who have maybe found us on the podcast. So Julianne, if you want to kind of go ahead and give them a little bit of an idea of what it will do to help you to get this kind of support for your work on this podcast.
I don't know, I guess we're kind of new to Patreon. It's been kind of an interesting adventure. The way that we got to Patreon was that a couple years ago we had a need for a greenhouse and we did a Kickstarter. And the ability of a large group of people to take a project that they believe in and donate $1 for something that, yeah, maybe they needed, but maybe they didn't, but that they really felt passionate about the project we were working on. We really received a huge education in the power of that kind of um, project. And so we have a little farm, and we are trying to find different revenue streams to be able to educate people to stay on the farm and to be able to dedicate more of our time to educating people about homesteading, and give ourselves enough time to do it well. And so that's where the Patreon thing comes in. And I have to say that doing this with Cinnamon is super fun because nobody likes to work alone. And nobody, I don't know, it's not fun to just sit and talk to yourself for 45 minutes, half an hour, and try and think of new and interesting things to talk about. And Cinnamon, her strengths are things that have been weaknesses for me for a really long time. And so I'm really fascinated to be able to sit here and kind of brainstorm about, the ups and downs we have as married women, as women in general, as gardeners and homesteaders and working women. So I'm really excited to kind of see how we cover all those different avenues because we're both extremely busy women and very, very hardworking women. And I feel like we still manage to put family and God first. So I think it's going to be a fascinating project.
I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I don't know if this sounds geeky at all, but I love to learn. I'm fascinated with learning a new subject and just learning everything I can about it. And I don't know, it's thrilling whenever you get to start something new and just to learn that you are able to do it, which is kind of going along with what you were saying earlier. Like even if it is an area that you might be a little intimidated by, and you see other people who do it so well and stuff, and you never think that you're going to actually be able to be that person that can accomplish that. Like, I'm excited to get to know more about canning and stuff because I would love to have, be able to eat stuff like that's not in season because I've been able to can it and I can eat it later and, just to be able to kind of let your garden stretch and stuff. So, so I am really excited about that. For me, the Patreon thing, the reason why I wanted to do it is, like you said, I am very, very busy with my cleaning. I work Monday through Friday, and I actually opened up Saturdays to help us out. My husband is not working full time, and we kind of, when we were younger, we weren't the best with our monetary decisions. And I went to college, and it was a private college, and it was very, very expensive. And I'm the youngest of 6 kids, and we've all paid for our college on our own. And so it's been where my money went in college, I have no idea. I wish I had the same organizational skills that, when I was in college and stuff. So the Patreon, for the time that we spend, because if you don't do a podcast or if you don't know anybody who has done a podcast, it actually takes a lot longer than just sitting down and recording. It takes time to edit. You have to upload, download and upload and go through it and cut, and do a lot of editing and stuff. And so just you guys' support would really help us out. We're both, 2 families that would not just splurge the money, but we can actually put to good use. Ours is to help us get out of debt. And it would just be amazing. It's kind of like, if you have a post on Facebook and if you like it, if you donated $1, per episode, if everybody did that, that would help us out tremendously. Or something I was also going to say a little bit later, I'll go ahead and say right now, is if you go on iTunes, and it literally only takes a minute, but if you go on iTunes and you go ahead and rate us, then it actually puts us further up in the what's new, and more people will be able to see the podcast, and then that will help us and encourage us to, be able to keep this going and come up with new things also. And Derek and I will, my husband's name's Derek. Him and I will actually be making a video later on that will go a little bit further, just to give a little bit of background on where our journey is, because we haven't really put too many YouTube videos up. And he keeps saying it, and then we'll see stuff, and we're like, man, we should make a YouTube video for this. And I don't know. I think that we've kind of put ourselves out there now, and so I don't know. It takes a lot, I think, to get started and to be able to put yourself out there for other people to see. So I had a cleaning tip of the day. This is something that will help, especially if you have a bad back. When you are vacuuming a room and you go against the wall and there's going to be about an inch away from the wall, and where your carpet, where the roll is actually spinning, so it's not going to get that part. A lot of people, will take maybe twice a year or however often they actually do have time and get on the hands and knees and use the attachment to go ahead and do that. Before you vacuum, if you actually just take a broom and run it along the wall, parallel with the wall, and just, brush it, keep brushing along the wall, and then you brush it out once you get to a corner, that will get everything out, because it's just like that, the bristles that are on that roll on the vacuum working, and that'll get it out. And then when you vacuum, then you've covered every bit of your carpet. So that is my cleaning tip of the day.
Good tip.
Thank you. We wanted to do a little segment where it is called This or That. And this is basically where we get to know Julianne a little bit more with random questions that I have thought of through the day, different comparisons, and see which one that she would like better. So I've come up with 11.
Oh, wow. That's a lot. All for today?
But, yeah.
Oh, my. Okay.
Would you prefer braids or curls?
Braids.
Would you like... Oh, and Julianne has a segment that is very, very cute, and it's called Braid Girls.
Braid Girls. Uh-huh. There's a reason.
Yeah. Would you prefer mustard or ketchup?
Mustard.
Me too. Hey, maybe it's a...
Yeah.
Maybe it's a...
Red.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you like country music or bluegrass music?
Country.
Country? Nice. Derek and I, we like both. I do like country, or I do like bluegrass music sometimes, so I'll put that on and I'll start to listen to it and think, yeah, I like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you prefer fall or spring?
Oh, that's hard. I love cool weather. And so I don't know if I can choose between them because they're both my favorite time of year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I could choose between them. That would be a hard one.
Yeah. You're in Idaho, right?
Uh-huh.
So the only thing I know about Idaho is that every potato we get, the bag says Idaho in it in our grocery stores. Or I lived in Texas for 3 years, and I would meet people, and I tell them I'm from Ohio, and when they would introduce me, they'd be like, oh yeah, she's from Idaho.
Oh. Like, no.
No. So what is the weather like in Idaho?
It depends on where you are. We're in the high altitude desert. That would be southeast Idaho. And so most of our moisture comes in the form of snow. If we have a bizarre year, we'll have rain during the year. But for the most part, we just get snow, and all of our watering is done through irrigation systems rather than relying on rainfall.
Wow. That's cool, though.
And it's cool. And we get down to, the coldest winter I remember was -40 Fahrenheit. Our average winter cold is about -20 Fahrenheit.
Ohio does get cold, too.
Yeah.
But we sometimes, well, most of the time, it'll snow until April.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so you guys, that's so funny that you guys are like all the way on the other side of the United States. And then, I mean, like we're not along the coast, but you know, we're kind of close there. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so it's kind of like, it feels like 3 months of summer and then like 8 months of cold weather.
Yeah, exactly. Did Daddy tell you? You better go out, honey. Your daddy, I remember specifically. We have a castaway. Hey, little castaway, you better go find your daddy, because if he finds you down here where you disobeyed him, he's not going to be happy. And I love you. For all of you who know our family and our channel, that was Kaya, and she thought she could come in and do crafting while Mom was doing her podcast.
I love that. It sounds like my family.
Yeah.
We grew up disciplined, you know, like I never told my mom no or
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
back or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's a breath of fresh air to see other people who are raising their family with the same values. So it's wonderful.
The little fear.
Yeah.
Be afraid.
Yep.
Be very afraid.
Yep. Okay, so do you like, I bet I can probably guess on this, but air conditioning or windows down?
Windows down.
Me too. It was, I want to say 90 today, and it was very hot and stuff. Derek and I kind of talk about this because he drives, you know, he has a lawn mowing business, and he is in his truck that has no AC. So while he's out in the sun and then he gets to the car and it's very hot and everything, he said he'd rather have a car that had air conditioning, and I'm driving around the car that does have air conditioning, and I won't use it. I'll put the windows down and, you know, try and get as much cool air as possible. And so it was 90 today, so I had the windows down, but I had to put them up for a tiny bit and just a little bit of cold air because it was just that hot, you know.
We haven't hit that kind of temperature yet. We usually don't hit that kind of temperature till July.
Really?
But they say we're supposed to hit 91 next week, which, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to melt.
What is the temperature now there?
It's been in the 60s.
It's 60 there?
Yeah, it's been in the 60s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We have snow. We've had snow on the 4th of July before, and our frost date, our last frost date isn't until June. So, yeah, next week being 91 degrees, I am literally going to melt. I am not going to be happy camper.
Oh.
I love the 60s and 70s because you can garden in the 60s and 70s. You can go out and there's no bugs. Everything is just pleasant.
You can breathe.
You can breathe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know that feeling. I actually, I forgot. It was a couple days ago where it was 80 something, and it was the hot where, I got off work a little bit early, because the air conditioning went out. And so we rescheduled for later on this week. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I finally have time to work on the garden and stuff. And I went outside and I just could not move. My energy was drained. And I'm like, man, this stinks because I actually have enough time to do this, but I have absolutely no energy to do it. So
yeah. It's so easy to get. It's deceptive when it's not like boiling hot, but it's pretty hot, and it's so easy to get sunstroke and other things, and they creep up on you, and then they can make you sick for a week. So I agree. I think it's better to use caution than to go out like, well, hell or high water, I'm going to do it because this is when I have time. You just kind of have to be a little cautious.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you like, or do you like showers or baths?
I guess it depends. If you're in a fancy hotel and you actually have time, I definitely say baths.
Right.
But if it's real life and you showers. At home is showers, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I'll be like, I'll have a long day and I'm like, oh, a bath sounds good. And I'll lay it down in the bath and I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. I've got 15 things on my brain. I better not sit here very long.
Right. Do you prefer tennis shoes or flip-flops?
I hate flip-flops. Oh my gosh, the most unfunctional, most foot-destructive shoe ever created. You can't work in flip-flops, you know?
No, you cannot. I think I liked him in college, but then after that, where it kind of gets to the stage where you're old enough where you're like, I'd rather have comfort rather than, whatever.
Ease.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
did you ever read the book Fly Lady? It's a lady that it won't be up your alley necessarily because you need it, but because it's in your business. And she was a lady that was a total slob, and she ended up in an unhappy marriage, got divorced, and went into therapy. And she came out, and the skills that she learned from all this terribleness was that she learned how to clean, and it healed her, being able to recognize that she wanted to be surrounded by things that she loved, and to treat them with respect and to treat herself with respect. And the first rule that she taught people who are naturally slobs is when you get up in the morning, put on lace-up shoes, because then you can't lay down to take a nap or do something else because you have your shoes on. You can't go lay down. And if you see something that needs to be done, you don't have to wait to go find shoes. You can just take the garbage out, or you can go do whatever else you need because your shoes are always on. And
that's genius.
And so, isn't that genius?
It is.
Because, and once you get kind of addicted to being a tidier, more busy person, it gets addicted to the point where you don't necessarily need the shoes on, but it still always reminds me of, no, I am awake. I'm awake. And with us, I need to be in motion. So that's why I love lace-up shoes.
Oh, yeah. That's great. I love that.
Isn't that great? Yeah.
Would you prefer using a pen or pencil?
I really like pencils.
I do too. I like
being able to erase my thoughts and start over.
Are you a cat or a dog person?
Dog.
Do you like cats at all?
I do like cats. In fact, we used to have a cat that she would ride on my shoulder when we went out to milk the goats in the morning. She loved tall buildings. When she was a kitten, she would climb. I don't know how she did it because she was a kitten, and it's a 2-story house. She would climb the house so she could go perch up on the roof. And so wherever she was, she wanted to be at the highest point. And so she would climb me so that she could perch on my shoulder while I went around doing my chores, and then she'd perch on my shoulder to watch me milk. And we loved her. She was such a good cat, but my neighbor caught her and killed her when she was pregnant with her last batch. And that's one of the reasons I'm not a cat person, is because in a farm, they have a tendency not to last very long. And when you get attached, it's kind of hard when they don't make it very long. So,
oh, I'm so sorry.
It was so sad. We waited and waited and waited for her to come back. She never came back. It was really sad.
Oh, that is
farm
very
cats.
Sad.
Farm cats. They're happy because they get to go outside and play and always be outside, but it does make it a little. The girls haven't learned that yet. They get very attached to all of our cats.
I bet.
But eventually, I'm sure they will learn that not to get as attached, because they disappear, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm sorry. I like both cats and dogs. I actually went and did an allergy test, and I'm allergic to both.
Yeah.
But I don't care. I love them, and plus, almost all but 2 of my clients have pets, so I'm
so you couldn't
around
get
them
away
constantly.
from them anyway,
right?
Yeah.
But we had a cat, and she literally was like our baby, because Derek and I don't have kids, and she actually would listen. Like, I'd be like, no, and she'd stop what she was doing and go, meow. And I'd go, no, and then she would actually back up and stop what she was doing. Like, we had her trained. And just one morning, I was stretching, and because I had an injury, so I was doing these stretches, and she came up to me and she licked my little toe, and I'm like, what are you doing? And then she went off into the other room and she died, and she was only 3.5 years old.
Oh.
And I've learned that there's a thing called like a sudden stroke. And it's very unexpected. Like, I think that's why it was so hard, because we were hoping to have like 20 years with her, and she was awesome. So, we took her absolutely hard. Derek grew up not.
I sit here and cry on the podcast, like I'm tearing up, and I'm like, oh no, that's
literally when like after she died, we're like, we lost our first baby. Is like
Yeah.
some people who don't understand are like, oh come on, it's a cat, but like she literally was part of our family. We, she even would have like a little Santa Claus hat on that we put on her for
Yeah.
Christmas. She'd pose and like we absolutely loved her. And Derek grew up not liking cats, and so he actually got her for me. And
Aw.
he's like, best worst mistake ever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's rough.
yeah.
And wonderful. It's wonderful to have animals around that are like that. And I think the more animals you have in your life, the more you realize that most animals have that kind of connection if you put the time in,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and that they really have that capacity to care.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I think they definitely make life sweeter. Hopefully we do the same back to them. I'm not sure we always do, but hopefully we do the same back
Yes.
to them.
I agree.
Yeah.
Would you like fuzzy socks or slippers?
Oh, both of them are kind of a bad thing on the farm. I have
Oh
one
yeah.
pair of fuzzy socks, but I can't wear them because we have straw everywhere and
Oh no.
stickers and our house is not a safe place to wear anything fuzzy. I love both of those things, but none of them survive in my home because we live on a farm.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Would you prefer to sing in the shower or sing in the car?
Probably in the car.
In the car, I got you.
Yeah.
I sing everywhere. I've only once had it. Usually, if I'm cleaning and there's nobody home, I'll sing sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
And I've only had once where their kid was back from college and they didn't tell me, and I definitely was singing.
I love that. My sisters and that's what we used to do. We were homeschooled and I think had an abnormal brain connection between us because we spent so much time together.
Right.
And we watched not music videos, musicals. We watched musicals. Those were the movies we were allowed to watch. And so when we did dishes or when we did laundry or when we were in the garden, we would always be It's Fiddler on the Roof or My Fair Lady or Mary Poppins, but we were always doing these synchronized singing things. And I noticed that I don't do that with my kids. And I don't know if it's because we don't watch the movies as much or if it's just because I almost feel like it has something to do with technology because as a kid I sang all the time.
Oh yeah.
And I find now that like I'll sing along with the radio, but I don't actually like I used to sing hymns a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that my voice is rusty and when I go to church I find that it doesn't feel natural to sing and I wonder how much of that has to do with technology that choirs and musicals and things like that aren't as big a part of our lives and I think I need to change that because I think it's important.
If you think about, when we grew up, how we would have to entertain ourselves. Like if you have, like for instance, we did not have all these toys. Nowadays, you have friends giving toys, grandparents, family. There's a toy for this occasion, that occasion, every single occasion. We just had very few toys and they were special to us and we could literally play like a game with one for hours if we needed to. We were creative, we didn't have something to watch, but instead we made up our own thing. Like, and I was thinking about this actually, today, my first client, they're out of school and, they have 4 kids and they had their cousins over also. So there was a lot of kids in the house this morning. And I could hear them playing in the other room. And I just wanted to be like, you guys really need to get a cassette player and tape this and just listen to it when you grow up because you will laugh so hard at how creative, and they actually were not doing like, they were just playing with toys. They weren't even watching anything, which I don't know. There's a lot of nostalgia that comes back when I see kids nowadays doing stuff that I used to do, and I don't know. I think there's so much of a greater value in like just the natural joys and stuff and, that doesn't involve technology as we're using it right now. But for our scripture of the day, I had, this is actually my favorite one, and I really run my business off of this. Anytime if I'm going on my way to work, I'll usually pray and I'll quote the scripture. And if I forget, I'll be working and I'm like, oh, and then sometimes I'll get frustrated and I'm like, why am I getting frustrated, or why am I getting tired, or why am I, having like a freeze, like, what do I do next? Because it really does matter the order that you do it. The things you have to do when you're cleaning a full house. So then I'll be like, oh wait, I did not pray about it. And so, the verse of the day is from Proverbs 3:6. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. So it says in all thy ways. It doesn't say only if it's very, very necessary, or if it's a huge, we serve a God that he absolutely loves when we involve him and we ask for his, like how awesome is that we can ask him for things, and he will help us. And B, he loves to do it. Like, he loves it when we rely on him. And so when I'm on my way to work, I'll say, Lord, it says to acknowledge you in all my ways. And so I dedicate today to you. I ask you to please to guide me. You are the most efficient and you know how to do everything. And so, Lord, I'm, just take control of the day and let me know how you want me to do it, and when I do that, I have good days at work. I'm on task. I'm on time, and so, yeah, that's one of my favorite verses that I quote all the time. All right. That's all I had for today. So that was a good first one. I think so. So I just want to remind everybody, if you liked it, donate if you can. That would be absolutely fantastic to show your support. And then if we get good support, we can go ahead and keep these up once a week. If you guys would like to comment, have any questions or anything, we have Instagram, Jills of All Trades podcast. And if it would be easier for you to ask a question on through an email, you can email jillsofalltradespodcast@gmail.com. And just always remember to celebrate the achievements, no matter how small. Be thankful to everyone around you and acknowledge all the blessings you already have in your life. Thank you.